Hi, I'm Dave from Schultz & Larsen UK. In this short video I'll be explaining one of the scope mount options for the Schultz & Larsen rifle, which is the Weaver or Picatinny bases. Now the Weaver and Picatinny bases look very similar, but they are two different specifications. The slots in the bases are actually different widths, with Weaver being the narrower of the two, typically measuring 4.57mm, and the Picatinny slightly wider at 5.23mm. Ideally, depending on what rings you have or what rings you're going to get, would determine which bases to go for. You are looking for the best possible fit. Even with Weaver rings and Weaver bases, you'll see a small amount of movement. Otherwise, if it's too tight, you'll not be able to drop the rings into the base. You'll see the same applies for the Picatinny rings and Picatinny bases. Now the Picatinny profile out of the two is the wider, so we will of course accept both Weaver and Picatinny rings. So if you drop the Weaver rings into the slot, you will see a little bit more movement than you will with Picatinny. A tip for mounting is to drop the ring into the Weaver or Picatinny slot and push it as far forward as possible so it contacts the front of the slot. Then tighten up the rings and do this for the front and rear rings so they'll both equally be taking the force of the recoil and they won't move at all. Okay, so next up we'll be looking at the fitting process, and it's a very straightforward process to do. So we'll be looking at going through each step and what you'll need to do it. The bases come complete with the correct screws for the rifle. The hole spacings and the radius on the underside are all correct, so it's literally a case of screwing the bases to the rifle, and there's no hand fitting needed. So to prepare the rifle and the bases for mounting, we would recommend to use some degreaser just on the underside of the base, on the rifle, where the mounts are going to be sitting. This way it will clear up any oil or grit or dirt that's sitting on there. Now in the workshop we'd always mount Weaver or Picatinny bases using some surface to surface adhesive. Now this bonds the base to the rifle and it corrects any tolerances there may be between the base radius and the rifle radius, even if it's 1/100th of a mil out. Here I'm using Delta 55 adhesive, but Loctite 648 works just as well. A light coating of adhesive on the base is perfect. Then place it in position on the rifle. Now the bases always come with the correct screws for fitting, but what we recommend when fitting the screws to the rifle is to use a little bit of thread locker. All you need is a small drop. In the workshop we'd use either Delta 77 or Loctite 278. Tighten both screws evenly, and just before they're getting tight, make that final 1/8 of a turn to make sure they are fully tightened onto the rifle. Always use the correct wrench and don't over tighten the screws, as you don't want to cause any damage to them. Okay, so that's the bases mounted. You do need to check for any adhesive seeping out the sides. If there is any, clean it away with a paper towel, and check on the instructions on the packaging, because you do need to wait for it to cure fully, so it might differ from product to product. And it's a very straightforward process, and it's the same for both Picatinny and Weaver bases. And once they're mounted, it then gives you the option to mount rings or red dot sights or anything with that profile to the bases. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments box below or send us an email. And if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe button. That's it for now. Thank you for watching.